My name is Ann Sermons Gillis, and I'm always happy to interview a member of Unity of Charleston. This morning, I've got a wonderful guest. I want to introduce to you Patti Newman. Welcome, Patti.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, and I'm going to say that slower. I said it pretty fast, so that's Patti Newman. So good morning. Welcome. I'm going to ask you to start at the very beginning. Where were you born?
I was born in Sumter, South Carolina, and was raised there and Columbia also. So
Okay.
I'm a South Carolina native.
And so you live in this area here. What brought you to this area?
Um, way back in 1989, right before Hurricane Hugo, I think about 3 weeks before, we moved here in order for me to start a new job here. So I was teaching at Trident Technical College in North Charleston. I taught there for 28 years as their only full-time French professor.
Oh, wow, French. Ah, bien. We bien. Okay. So where do you live now?
I live in Goose Creek.
Goose Creek. Wonderful. Do you have any children?
We do. We have one daughter, Lindsay, who attended Unity for a while when she was younger. She's married now, and we have a granddaughter and a son-in-law.
And and so I guess that means you're married.
Yes, yes.
That.
And John and I both have attended Unity for over 20 years.
Okay. So you mentioned that you taught for 28 years. So that was your basic main career as a teacher?
Yes, I'm definitely a teacher. It's funny. People laugh because when I was a child, I always knew I was going to be a teacher or at least something in that field. I also at one point wanted to be a social worker. And I laugh and say I actually ended up being a social worker at the same time I was a teacher. And that turned out probably to be a better path for me. But as a child, I used to like to play school by myself, and I would make up very detailed lesson plans for nobody. So, so yes, I always knew I was going to be a teacher. I actually have a certificate in elementary education, so I was certified to teach first through 12th grade, and I did teach 1 year of junior high school. I did a Fulbright teaching exchange, teaching high schoolers in France for a year. And at one point or another, I have taught almost every age level, from little tiny kids all the way up through retirees. So it's been a lot of fun. 1 year when my daughter was first born, I was a homebound teacher. And one of the most challenging jobs I had with that was to teach this young girl 11th grade geometry in a very short amount of time. She had almost died from a burst appendix, and we had to get her ready to start the next semester. So every night I would stay up reviewing geometric proofs until way past 11 o'clock so I could get up the next morning and go teach them to her. So that was fun.
Okay. So that was real going the extra mile, I would say. So how did your spiritual search start?
Oh my goodness. I would say that I started as a child. I was raised as a Southern Baptist, and I liked my church. I'm very glad for my background. My family were all Baptist. Most of them still are. And I think I knew from an early age that I had a very altruistic background, and always was drawn to a very religious life. In fact, when I was probably a very small child, I told my mother that I wanted to be a nun, and she very patiently explained that Baptists don't have nuns, so you can't.
Oh, oh goodness. Well, what led you to maybe change from a Baptist church, and then how did you find unity? I was thinking they may be related.
Well, that's a good question. Probably a lot of it had to do with my husband. He had attended Methodist church when he was younger, but wasn't particularly led to continue with that. And he actually was a religious studies major in college, although he prefers to tell people that he was a philosophy major because people will get confused. And his main interest was in Eastern religions. So he was not interested in attending a traditional Baptist or Methodist church. And when we got here, I had quite a few coworkers who attended Unity.
Oh,
And the first time we ever went into this church was to attend a memorial service for my coworker's father-in-law. And we were quite drawn to it. And then we were invited to come back for various events and liked it very much and decided to continue.
wow. So just kind of slid into it.
I
An
had never
easy.
heard of Unity.
So was it radically different from what you already believed, or did it confirm what you already believed?
I think it confirmed what I believed. I think I did not like the fire and brimstone type sermons, and we really liked the positivity of Unity Church. I liked coming in and seeing the religious symbols along the walls of various faiths. I really liked and appreciated the religious tolerance for other faiths and other beliefs. And the people were so warm and friendly, and we loved the messages. And we loved the music.
Oh, good. We do have a lot of good music. So you've been in this spiritual journey for quite a long time. What is your main beliefs, your philosophy of life at this point?
Well, I would say I definitely believe in a God, whatever word you use to describe that. And I believe that there's so much that we don't know, that we can't know. I would call myself a Christian mystic. And at this stage of my life, after so many years of living, I realize that there's just a lot that I don't know, and it's okay as long as I'm centered myself and this belief that I have that I can't prove that there is a God watching over us all.
Well, it's so hard to prove. If we tried to describe the wind to somebody, that would probably be a pretty tough one too. So no wonder then explaining something that's so much more complex than that, it's not an easy task for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, along the way, or even right now, were there any favorite authors or books that really made a difference in your life that you really enjoyed?
Yes, but I can't think of any spiritual ones off the top of my head, any that were actually classified as spiritual. Um, One of my favorite poets is Walt Whitman, and I love the Transcendentalist very much. Very drawn to nature and seeing a, a, a source, a spirit, God interwoven throughout nature.
Wonderful. Yeah, yes, that's one of the definite paths to the source, and that is through nature. Actually, I think everyone should include nature. I mean, we have the lack of nature in our culture. We are separate from nature, I think, which probably adds to that sense of separation that we have with everything, with everyone, is that we're encapsulated in this small area of our life
Yes.
that we just do the same thing every day and we don't reach out into the infinite.
Yes.
Except, do you have any spiritual practices, speaking of reaching to the infinite?
Prayer and meditation, just being out in nature, taking walks, and just being there rather than trying to think too hard about it. Um, I spend a lot of time with my little 6-year-old granddaughter, and we spend a lot of time outdoors, and we talk a lot about pretty serious subjects and have for a number of years. Death is something that she wants to talk about. And so yesterday we found a little dead earthworm, and we talked about how he wasn't really there anymore, that was just his body. And she insisted on us burying it.
Very.
We've also found a cicada shell in the past, and we talked about how the cicada itself had left and its shell was left. And we talk about how that's the same thing with people, that when we die, our body, we don't need our body anymore, like the cicada didn't need its shell, but that we still are here and we're around. So she's a very spiritual little soul.
That's great. I think our children need that kind of information, and often that's not given to children or even talked about. It's like death still has somewhat of a stigma about it that you don't talk about it. Um,
Definitely.
yeah, so that's great. Well, I know that you do have some passions and hobbies, and I just wonder if you would share a little bit. I can think of two, and let's see what you want to share.
Okay. Well, one of the things that takes up a good bit of my time is that I am the main facilitator for our local scleroderma patient support group. So we meet monthly on Zoom, and I do a lot of the planning of the meetings, lining up guest speakers, and so on. So that's very rewarding, um, and it allows me to continue on with my kind of my teaching leadership skills that I've always had. Uh,
Do you have scleroderma?
I do have scleroderma. I was diagnosed 6 years ago, and I was quite sick in the beginning, and I'm doing fantastically now.
Oh,
So,
good.
so that was a good experience. I'd read about people who've had cancer and who said that they were grateful for it, and I would say that yeah, I was grateful for having gone through that and still going through it, of course, but doing very well now. I'm also a Reiki teacher, and so I had never been seriously ill. So that was very good for me to be able to see it from the other side, see what people experience when they are are quite ill, and that's really helped with my Reiki. So I'm also a Reiki teacher, like I said. So I'm continuing my teaching that way. I taught Reiki for about 10 years at Trident Tech through the continuing education division up until the pandemic. And now I'm teaching in my home only for people who just find their way to me. So I just got to teach a Reiki class a couple of weeks ago.
And other passions, I know that you have a passion with gardening and plants because you know so much. Tell us a little bit about that. Do you practice that all the time in your yard? Do you
I,
have,
I'm certainly not a skilled gardener for sure, but I do like getting plants and planting them and spending time in our garden trying to rearrange things and planting. We've got some stones. I'm very drawn to stones and rocks, so we have some big rocks in the front yard and uh, rearranging them from time to time.
and
Go ahead, Ed.
I was going to say, well, I'm not going to call you the cat lady, but tell us about your relationship with cats.
Well, you might as well. Well, it's funny. We had cats for a number of years and they lived to be very old and died. And we said we weren't going to get any more. But after a number of years, I started thinking that I really would like to have another cat. And I wanted an orange cat. I'd never had one. But I also said I really would like a long-haired cat. So one day, an orange cat showed up. And a few days later, a long-haired black Persian cat showed up. It was obvious that they were friends, and the orange cat had already been identified as a feral cat and had his ear clipped, so we knew he had already been fixed. It took a long time before we were able to so-called tame the Persian and take her to the vet, get her spayed. In the meantime, she started having kittens. We have a patch of woods behind our house. To this day, we draw, and this is a cat neighborhood, so we have lots of cats that come in. We've got outdoor cats. We saved two of the little ones who now belong indoors. We have rehomed a lot of litters of kittens. We've managed to get most of the outdoor cats vaccinated and spayed or neutered. So that's good.
That's great. Thank you. That is quite a service. I think in spirituality that once we kind of get it, then it's time to share it. And that's a wonderful way to share with animals. So do you have any other spiritual disciplines that you follow? I know that you're involved in Unity and Reiki, and is in somewhat, I would say, a spiritual practice. Is there any
Yes, yes, it definitely is. Those
and,
would be the two primary ones that I do.
and
Uh,
meditation is almost
meditation.
it's almost a religion.
Yeah, that's true. I also practice yoga, Tai Chi, and Qigong, which definitely have spiritual components to them.
Ooh, absolutely. Wonderful. Well, I wonder if I left anything out or any last words that you might have for us today.
Well, I just like to say, if you're interested at all in Unity, come and try it out because I knew nothing about it, and it's a major part of our lives now. So we thoroughly enjoy being there. And
That's
thank you for the interview, Anne. This is wonderful.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much, Patty. Take care.
You too. Bye bye.